Leo, greetings and salutations, my friend. We're going to jump right into this hope, fear, and reality spread. If you're new to bleh, I can speak. If you're new to tarot and you're not sure how to use a spread like this or what the placements of the cards are, you can click on the description box below. There's just a little short explanation um, that I put there because I hope it's useful. I hope. Speaking of hopes, fears, reality. Oof. Oof. What is all this about, Leo? You can't. It's like you're trying to turn an eye. Like you're trying to turn, not an eye. You're trying to turn the cheek on situations or something that you've gone through that you feel is unfair. It's like you're just trying not to look at it. Like you're hoping to put blinders on. Like you saw something or you heard something or you know something that is just outright imbalanced, unfair, just wrong. And it's like you're trying to ignore the big pink elephant in the room. That's got to be hard because like I'm a Sagittarius. Every time I see a pink elephant in the room, I'm like, elephant. That gets me in trouble more often than not. But but to see it and just have it there staring in your face, it's almost like this is so bad. Like I know this sounds weird, but I'm picturing myself. This is what I get when I look at this. I'm picturing myself in my office at my job, and the big pink elephant is like stuck in this hallway because it's a small hallway that leads to my office. And his trunk is reaching around to my desk and eating my lunch. And I'm just trying not to notice. It's that bad. It's like that crazy. Like you literally can't ignore it anymore. It plagues you, but you're trying to put it outside of your mind. You're hoping not to notice that this pink elephant is eating your lunch. I hope that was a fun visual for you all. I wonder what you guys think my workplace looks like. Anyway, moving right along. In the fear, or as I like to call it, the anxiety portion, right? Um, there's this new perspective. There's this understanding of your situation and the person or people involved that gives you a little bit of anxiety. It's almost like to sit there and look at the truth turns your stomach just a bit, right? And there's high potential for all kinds of room and growth and this and that. But nobody's processing anything through a framework to take this potential energy and do something with it in order to gain this new perspective. It's just, it's almost like in your anxiety, you fear stagnancy because both of these cards are about change. And what I'm getting is things that people won't do. It's easy to paint a picture in your head and say this is the way things should be. It's easy to read a textbook or a policy and say this is the way things should be. It's a completely different thing to take the idea or concept from words on a paper and process it to something real in a live environment. An example that I use a lot when I talk to friends and family is I say a mortgage looks great. You sign that 30-year mortgage and everything looks great until you need a new roof, your hot water heater broke, and your husband lost his job. You know what I mean? Things happen. Life happens. You can't always apply a textbook definition. And people are looking at and trying to fit a textbook definition. And they aren't looking at the reality that all this potential has to be processed through a framework and be real. It has to happen in a live environment. People don't want that perspective. They're working in theories, not reality. And that makes you nervous. Expansion. So the funny thing about the Three of Cups, so many tarot card readers, well, a lot of tarot card readers focus on personal relationships. I don't even want to say love. But a lot of tarot card readers focus on personal relationships because that's what their collective is looking for. I have a very niche collective. The people who come to me for shadow work. And anybody who knows me knows that I have been in the process of working through my own shadows for the past 4 to 5 years, right? This deck is super interesting to me because the Three of Cups in all decks is supposed to be about expansion and friendship and celebration, right? But I'm going to show you this. This deck is always different to me because I see these three ladies right here and I'm like, damn, these look like the bitchiest ladies you've ever met. This is like the mean girls. This is like a group of people like, oh, you can't sit with us. Like that. That's how I imagine they talk in this card. Like it's awful. I'm very judgmental of this card, not of a particular person. But that's what I get here. I literally get a group of people coming together like bullies. Just bullies. I mean, it's that simple. Very insecure about their own things and their own problems. So what do? Well, what happens when a toxic person cannot control you? They try to then control how other people see you. And how do they do that? They gossip. They project. And the funny thing about projection is a lot of times people are complaining that they see the behaviors that they exhibit on a regular basis in other people. So when they're complaining about that other person, they might be complaining about stuff they do themselves. And I'm not going to lie, I've fallen into this trap before. We try to rise above it, don't we all? And you see that while everybody's focused on each other, there is no forward movement, right? Because everybody's so focused on how do you see this individual? How do you see this individual? What about that person? What about this? What about that? You know? That the forward movement is coming to a screeching halt. So, you're trying to... This is an interesting reading, Leo. You're trying to turn a blind eye to an unfair situation, right? And the fact that nobody else sees a different perspective, that everybody's so focused on this one thing, you know, whatever created the elephant, everybody's focused on, and that people don't see the reality of nobody's perfect. And then the reality is, not only are people not perfect, but nobody's really at their best behavior. So there's this great big slowdown right now. And the great big slowdown is the pink elephant. And it's funny that I was picturing the pink elephant stuck in a hallway, but that's exactly what it looks like this thing is doing. It's literally making it so people cannot move to the next area. Ugh. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter which way you steer the ship. The Wheel of Fortune is here to remind us that sometimes you're up and sometimes you're down. But the fact that you are not 100% in control of your circumstance is reminding you of some pains of the past. Leo, it feels like you have a lot of answers to this situation, but you're keeping them to yourself. And I might even want to go a step further and say that you are biding your time before you start pointing out that pink elephant. But the question is, what are you waiting for? If you're waiting for a safe space, that safe space may never come. I guess I don't have anything in the way of advice for these cards. All I see is avoidance, 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 avoidance. Perhaps there's a warning in these cards that I don't see and I don't recognize as the reader. And perhaps there's something here that doesn't necessarily make sense to me. But that's just my own ego getting in the way. It doesn't have to make sense to me. I'm just relaying the message. This should make sense to you. And what I get very strongly when I look at all these cards is you can only avoid the inevitable for so long. At some point, turning a blind eye isn't going to be possible anymore. I hope you found a message that serves your highest good. And good luck with this. I'll see you next time.